Why invite me? I'm not a food scientist. I'm not a farmer. I'm just a trader. But these days, I receive invitations for a variety of different topics I know little or nothing about. So when I received this invitation, I called the person who sent me the invitation and said, how do you want me to come and do it? Very soon the invitation came from somebody I regard as one of my best commissioners. And we have a policy when I served as a governor. Whatever the commissioner wants you to do, you must do it. Because I was just the coach and they were the players. So whatever they direct, I will do. He said, Peter, I want you to be no one. Just come. But I believe that for me, when it's about politics, it's about humanity. You can't talk about politics unless you're talking about humanity. Anything that you're doing in politics that involves of service to humanity, it is no longer politics. And you can't talk about humanity without talking about food. And this current philosophy, and thank God that VC can recall that he knows I went to the University of Nigeria. So in these days where you need to show your classmates and people who went to school. Philosophy says that nobody is happy when you don't know where the next meal will come from. So there's a linkage between food and politics. Again, that's why our politicians invented the word stomach infrastructure, which we use wrongly. But you cannot have a system work without talking about feeding people. You can't have a system that works without people having, I think the first security you can think about, natural security, is food. People have to know where the next thing will come from. And I guess when the God said for international market, I said, let's deal with the local situation first. So before they take it out, let's be sure that we're eating something. Because we do have, I would have said, Nigerian food for Nigerian people to eat. Because we're hungry here. And look at these students. I'm sure you are hungry. Protested. I protested. I was part of the protest when they reduced our meat from 3 to 2. Today, you'll be lucky if you see food, couplets of meat. So I think we have to include the. So for me, when I got this invitation, but again, if you have listened to my going around trying to campaign for the highest office of the land, I will say that there's nothing wrong with Nigeria. I believe in Nigeria. There's issue. There's nothing wrong with Nigeria. There's nothing wrong with the country called Nigeria, the land, the air, everything about Nigeria is good. The only thing that is missing in Nigeria is leadership. The only thing that is missing is that people like me, politicians, who people have invested their trust in, have decided to turn the country into a gigantic criminal enterprise, where you have to just steal as much as you can, even when you don't need it, just keep stealing. made it that everybody today is suffering. So when I was campaigning, I keep talking about issue of food, issue of Nigeria being self-sufficient in food, issue of using food as a means of turning around our economy. And I still maintain that. You can't talk about production. You can't talk about anything in the economy without first talking about food. If you look at today, the average Nigerian spends a good percentage of his money, if you are lucky to have a job, to buy food. For those who are lucky to have a job, percentage of their income goes into food. If you talk about inflation today, the highest contributor to our inflation is food. Food inflation is the highest. And we are today in this of, when you talk about hunger index, Nigeria is among the worst today. And when you talk about multidimensional poverty, when you have nearly 80 million Nigerians living in extreme poverty, you find it in food. So you can see that solving food problem, agricultural problem. If you go further today, people say to me, oh, we have an exchange problem. And naira today is about 1,000 to $1. I was doing a lecture in Ochino in Princeton, Joseph, about 10 days ago, and I said to them, you know, there's times you watch and you feel very sad about yourself. This is October 2023. Workers are protesting, everybody is protesting. As a student at the University of Nigeria, October 1983, if you have 1 million naira, you get $1.5 million. 40 years after you have 1 million naira, you get $1,000. That is how bad. My lecturer, professor of the university, in Nsukka then I paid between 1,000 and 1,200 naira a month. But that is about $2,000. And that time, they said a fee to 504, 505, between 4,000 and 7,000. I recall I went to buy a car in Umano Motors. And also my mom was then the manager there to say to me, Peter, we will not be able to supply your car in time because there are so many professors who have already paid. Because then it's easier for the professor to say, I'm going to devote 6 months of my salary. Most professors are met in Nsukka. They're teaching their wives are teaching. So one will say, let's use our money to feed 6 months of my salary. I buy a new car. And one of my lecturers, professor, said, going to buy a Mercedes 190 for 10,000 naira today. So 6 months. Today, a professor earns, if you're paid, because you're not even sure, 400,000 naira, and that is $400. And the least vehicle you can buy today, Toyota Corolla is at 8 million. So you need about 10 million. So, what we're talking about food. How will food and agriculture help in mitigating or getting this? The reason why your currency is bad is because you don't have reserve. And what contributes to your reserve of Nigeria and the future of Nigeria survival as a country is the vast cultivated land in northern Nigeria. That is our asset. You can't joke with it. That is why we need to invest. We can make more money from agriculture than we are making from oil. Improving everywhere in the world. But because it's a country that is now immersed in criminality and laziness, the only thing people want to hear is what is this thing.
It's not good. It's not good. Something is there. I don't know.
Today, the country feed itself. I won't go in fine because I told VC that my speech will be more than a few minutes. But I will give you examples of countries that have leveled. Nigeria was a signatory to Millennium Development Goals in 2016. It ended. We signed by 2020 that we are going to invest in critical areas of development. And those critical areas of development are health, education, and pulling people out of poverty. Even when they pull people out of poverty in Nigeria, they're talking about investing in agriculture in the north. Today, people are talking about all sorts of criminality in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria. What you are having is poverty. Simple. The more you put people out of poverty, the more you reduce criminality. Is that any other place in Friday? People are poor, you're going to have a problem. You have to deal with it by using the assets that are available to them to make it work. Nigeria cannot feed itself. And it has vast cultivated land that can be used for export, that can be used for everything, but it cannot feed itself. Nations that are far bigger, if I use India for example, India still has, yes, some measure of hunger, but India is 1.5 billion people. And India today are able to feed themselves to the extent that they earn even some food exports. India is 7 times the population of Nigeria. Yet, they have what it can call a reasonable access to food that they still export. In terms of land size, we live on 1/3 of India land. India has a 3.2 million square kilometers of land. We have 933,000 square kilometers, which in the is about 1/3 of their land. If you look at the poorest states in Nigeria today, they are actually the states that will drive development of Nigeria. Where we have the vast land, like Niger State. Is anybody from Niger here? Niger State is our biggest land. And you see me give an example of Niger every day. Niger State is 76.3 thousand square kilometers of land. Fertile land that you can use for anything. Niger State today, you cannot go to about 7 local governments because they're occupied by bandits. Nobody can go there. But Niger State is enough to feed Nigeria. They have a population of about 5 to 6 million. living on that vast cultivated land, fertile land that you can use for anything. Now let's compare United States with a developed country like Netherlands. Netherlands today is a country that is underwater. We have about 41,000 square kilometers of land. If you minus water, they are about 33,000. So Netherlands is not up to half of United States. But if you Google Netherlands exports for year 2021 or year 2022, it's about 122 billion euros. That's about $130 billion. The entire money we earn as a country in export is not up to $50 billion. So for what that tiny country earns, where Niger State is 2.5 times their size, from just agriculture, from agricultural products, is 2.5 times what we earn as a country. And Netherlands don't have the space because they are 17.something million in population. Niger State is about 5.6 million. So they go faster for cultivation. And Niger State is waiting to get statutory allocation by going to Abuja every month. The most they can collect is 60 billion annually. They want to get it, as I will do, 60 billion, which today is about $60 million. But if Niger State was able to do just 2%, even 1% of whatever is billion annually, they'll earn $1.3 billion. I do 1%. They do to 2.6, but they're getting 60. Now what they're doing of every day, and that's what everybody is hoping for. And they have that master because they're a competitive country where nobody produces anything. And they're poor, and they say, okay, some people say, oh, maybe God will come and cultivate the land and give us the money so we can buy and enjoy. Some think there's a magic. But that's what is happening in our country. So Niger State is among the poor states when it should have been able to fix it today. We have a problem in Borno State today. Borno State is 70.9 thousand square kilometers of land. In fact, Sabisa Forest alone that is giving us problem, which is a fertile land that can be used for a lot of things. It's almost 60,000 square kilometers of land. When the entire state of Israel is 22,000 square kilometers. So it's almost 6 times the size of Israel. 3 times. And to widen the size of Belgium, because Belgium is 30,000. So if you convert this to farmland producing goods, imagine what we can do in terms of export. Because we're looking for food to eat, food to do this, but for us, the forest, we fear it, and no, nobody can go. So all these are good states that can feed itself and have the market. Same is what you get everywhere. If you go to a state, our top biggest state is Taraba. If you go to Taraba, Taraba is on plain of Mambila, where you can do tea, coffee, name them. Kenya have less than 10% unemployment. Kenya has over $500 billion exporting flour. I was in the flower field for 2 days, even flour. You see young girls and young boys working in flower field being paid $50, $100 a month. Flour. This is not rocket science, not flour. They're shipping them every day in Kenya. They're not going to go far. get 50, what I said before, 50 billion naira, which is what they can get from just now. There are 54.3 thousand square kilometers of land. Fantanama is bigger than Belgium and Israel combined as a country. Yet, they're looking for food. They're going to have everything. Because they don't know nobody wants to work. Everybody gets up in the morning and be looking for where to get things cheap in this country. That's why people like me have said we want to dismantle this criminality and get it to be productive. For things to work. Ethiopia did export of coffee, $1.3 billion. That is what we can get in Taraba. Shanalika is 50, over $1.5 billion. That's small states. So you can go on and on, the list is endless. And that's what you get every day. You go to Yobe, it's the same thing. People are, oh, Yobe is Ogo area, Yobe is 45,000 square kilometers of land that could change the country. But nobody is doing anything. And then for me, you are the scientist, I'm not. I said I'm a trader. Mine is that how do we get, if we're able to do export today, our total export as a country today is about $50 billion. That's what we export as a country. A country of 200 million people living on 923,000 square kilometers of land. And our total export is under 50 billion if we lucky to have everything. When we have assets that can double that, if we can double our export today or triple it today, I can tell you, Naira will come down to 500 Naira to 1, and you start driving that process. It's not a rocket science, it's done in different countries of the world. Countries have changed their status. Countries of our size, countries, smaller countries like Thailand, today, export of Thailand in agriculture is about $38.something billion, which is about what we earn overall. Thailand lives on half of our land. They live on 513,000 square kilometers of land, and they can export. Just from agriculture. The overall export of Thailand is about over 250 billion naira, and that's 71 million people. So that is the problem of our country. So this we can change. It is not rocket science. So agriculture and food is critical because it's one thing the world is looking for. The world is looking for food. Oil we're facing, even in America, the biggest and the richest state is not Texas. With all the oil in America, we don't have near what they have. But the richest state in America is California. Because of what? Knowledge and agriculture. For Texas is almost about half the size of the economy of California. California is about $3.6 trillion economy. 9 times the size of Nigerian economy. But they are not dependent on oil. They are dependent on agriculture and knowledge. Something we can do here with different nations. Putting money, knowledge, putting money in agriculture because we have good weather of everything. Countries like Vietnam have moved from being an importer of rice to a net exporter. Today, Nigeria exports, total export is about $50 billion. That's about $50 billion. countries like Vietnam that came out of the war, came out of difficulty, their total export last year is around $400 billion. So they got you 10% of what Vietnam can do. Yet, when I mean the overall export, not in agriculture, in agriculture they do about $50 billion. But the overall export, and this comes from agriculture, from manufacturing, from everything, is over $400 billion. So they don't do 10% of what they can do. And there are only 100 million people, half of our population, living on 331,000 square kilometers, 1/3 of our land. And they could do this. Why are we wasting everybody's time here? How can I say we want to dismantle this community and get it to work for the sake of our children? Because it can work. Nigeria has a vast land. So for you who is involved in agriculture and food, know that it's exhausted. Let me say congrats to our president for the 47th conference. And I'm happy to be part of you. Even when I continue to protest that we have had enough of conference. It's time to deal with people like me. So that we can get it, because we can't continue to talk. We need to do something to make it work. So as we have the conference, know that you're a critical component of the future of this country. Food scientists, you're involved in research. Like Prof has said, they need to package our products to make it better. Prof, I can tell you, if the government is serious, all those things will happen. Because they will see the benefit of doing the right thing. It's not a rocket science to package goods. I live in the UK. People buy goods and package from Bangladesh. People buy goods and package from this. And you said your conference is in Aba. The reason why you came to Aba is because of what? That's what you said. I read what you said, Mr. President. You said you came to Abia because Abia is the program. So you could see, imagine when you combine product that is coming from you with the entrepreneurship of our family. I recall telling people when I had campaign that if I had the opportunity of starting Nigeria, that Aba and Port Harcourt will be one line. And people say, why? I said, it's very simple. We made $50 billion as an entire export. Bangladesh spends about $50 billion for exporting clothing. Only clothing. And I have over 60,000 tailors in Aba. Vietnam makes about the same amount to make for oil, about $20 billion from selling footwear, shoes. And we have thousands of shoemakers in Aba. And then I will collapse it so that we can access the sea, so that they can export. That is the way to change our country. You don't change countries, change country by production. And that is what you're going to do with your food. You have to change the food industry and be able to do the right things. You are the engine in which we can use to change this. It is critical. But I can tell you, if you tell somebody now, like, VC told me he read food sciences. Am I right, VC? If he says he's a professor of food sciences, I can tell you that I actually have a councillor in my local government any more than VC. What do you know? No country works like that. We have to put our money in the right place. We have to invest in the right places. And you, scientists who are involved in agriculture, who are involved in farming, is where we should be. It's where we need to invest. We need to call you to be able to help us to do the packaging we have said, to be able to export it, now to make the country work. Nobody is its lifelong. It is all part of the criminality called Nigeria, which must be dismantled. So for me, I thank you for the opportunity and be encouraging you that you are in the right path. We want to export Nigerian food for the international market. We want to invest in it because that is the right thing to do. I have said to people, we will double and triple our export through agriculture. We will invest and ensure that we put people out of poverty. If we're able to do it in the north, cotton, after our Bangladesh and export of clothing, imagine what Kaduna will be, what Kaduna used to be when everything is up. Imagine what they can do with the vast land in Kenya, when you have over 40,000 square kilometers of land, and rice can be increased and double there. Everything. Imagine what you can do with that farm. Where students are being kidnapped now, where you have 30,000 square kilometers of land. There's nobody, everybody's running away. So we have all these opportunities. And that is very coming to be able to have people in another Nigeria. So mine is not a privilege, it's just to be able to contribute in my own little way as first a Nigerian, a trader, a politician, and somebody who have had the opportunity of being in a private space, as a trader, in a corporation where I clear corporations, and political space, and I've come to conclusion there's nothing wrong with this country. And it is leadership. And my campaign for the rest of my life is to dismantle this criminality and make it work. Our children will live in a country where they will have us to go. They don't need to run away. But when they are running to, this place is better. If we remove the human being that have hijacked it, then you don't need to go to anyone. Your VC went to soccer. I went to soccer. And I thank God, by his own privilege, I've been able to do programs in other different universities where today I can say I'm an alumnus of Oxford, Cambridge, all of them, and I can tell you, none is better than soccer. The only difference that is there is because they have been able to have a leadership that looks after their school. So our job is to do it. So I thank you for what you're doing and continue to watch you. Please, we have no other country except this one. Our children will not live any other place except this one. We all have to come together. Sacrifice for the future of this country. The society we are allowing them to abuse today will take it revenge on our children as it's doing on us today. Thank you and God bless you.